Ted Cruz, I want to talk to you about communist China. You know, while we're dithering with chasing down an ex-president, well, should we have a trial or should we censure him or what should we do? And while we have a current president who thinks he's a monarch signing one law after another, I think he's almost up to 40, sweeping changes, quote the media, to God knows everything. China is on the move and China is dangerous. I mean, they've basically gobbling up Hong Kong. They want to gobble up Taiwan. They're taking over the South China Sea. They're on the move. While the Democrats are chasing, Trump. What else is China up to these days?
Well, Mark, you're exactly right that China is resurgent. I have long believed that communist China poses the single greatest geopolitical threat to the United States over the next century. And one of the things we've seen playing out in the past week has been a really disturbing pattern among the Biden cabinet nominees, one after the other, keeps embracing and snuggling up to and apologizing for communist China. So, for example, Biden's nominee for Commerce Secretary, I asked her at her confirmation hearing if she would commit to maintaining and keeping Huawei on the prohibited entities list. Now, Huawei, as you know, is the massive espionage company that masquerades as a telecom company, and it's what communist China uses to try to spy on people all around the world. She was unwilling to make that commitment. And so one of the early things the Biden administration seems to be flirting with is lifting all the sanctions on China and enabling them to engage in more surveillance. Just today, we had a confirmation hearing for Biden's nominee to be ambassador to the United Nations. A little over a year ago, in October of 2019, she gave a paid speech to a Confucius Institute here in the United States. Now, Confucius Institutes, as you know, are controlled, are paid for by communist China, by the Chinese government. They operate as hubs of espionage and propaganda on U.S. universities. And I authored bipartisan legislation that was passed into law a couple of years ago to crack down on Confucius Institutes, and it's resulted in dozens of Confucius Institutes being closed. Well, Biden's UN ambassador spoke at a Confucius Institute, was paid for doing so, and gave this speech just praising China and saying America needs to follow the example of communist China. This is a very disturbing pattern across the nominees of warmly embracing the communist Chinese government.
And he has a lot of appointees or would-be appointees throughout the State Department national security structure that are soft on China. Does he not?
He does. And listen, Joe Biden has a long history of apologizing for China himself. I mean, you'll recall the video of him saying a few years back, come on, man. They're not our enemies. They're our friends. Well, unfortunately, either he personally or everyone surrounding him, everyone he seems to be appointing into positions of authority, is already stepping into the role of being an apologist for the Chinese communists. You know, Joe Biden just signed an executive order ordering the federal government not to refer to COVID-19 as the China virus, or I guess the Wuhan virus, because acknowledging where it came from, apparently, is no longer allowed. And as you and I both know, it isn't just that this pandemic originated in Wuhan, China, but the Chinese Communist government suppressed information about it, imprisoned doctors, disappeared doctors, silenced and stopped efforts to contain it initially. Had they acted responsibly, this might have been contained as a regional outbreak, but they made willing decisions to silence and stop efforts to prevent the spread of it, and the results have been hundreds of thousands of deaths across the globe. And the Biden administration, it seems, has zero interest in holding China accountable for its misconduct.